Hi, welcome to today's episode of A Couple of Things, a podcast about things. You've heard of first mover advantage. Today, I want to introduce to you the concept of first mover disadvantage. Stay with me. Everybody tells you that, oh, be the first to move to market, be the first to do this, and there's always like the price for the first person to do X or the first person to do Y or whatever. But did you know that it can also be bad for you to be the first person to do something? So I read this book called Born for This by Chris, I don't know how to pronounce his surname. And I read it a very, very long time ago, but something there stuck with me. And he said, the early bird catches the worm, but the early worm gets eaten. Nobody ever talks about that part. The worm that gets there first gets eaten by the bird. So you think about brands that are not always first to move, but then they take something that people have already done or other people are working on, and then they make it much better. And then they have the advantage because they didn't go first. They waited till they had something that was actually good enough and usable. Or maybe people who move early and it was just like they were too early for the market wasn't ready for that. So I'm going to talk about a few examples. I was recently watching the live action Avatar, and please, not the blue one, the actual Avatar. And Zuko's uncle, why have I forgotten his name? Iroh. He says in Pai Sho, the first move is not always the best. Knowledge of your opponent, knowing where he might go, is more important than speed. But the more important part is that the first move is not always the best. Sometimes, wait, be the second one to do the thing or the third one, because being the first one does not mean that you do it best or you do it right or you get the prize. So on to the examples. A very good example of this is Apple. And I know, don't fight me. I'm not saying Apple is not innovative, but come and fight me. My point is that Apple actually rarely ever like creates new things that does not exist in anywhere. What they usually do is they take their time, their sweet time, and they add on things to those things, or they make it like nicer, or they market it really well. Like I remember when Apple announced that when you typed on your phone, if there was a corresponding emoji, the emoji will pop up, and they made it this huge announcement about it. But at that time, I already had some no-name brand tab that could do that, and I found it very fascinating. Like, other people already do this, but they're not selling a good enough story around it. And so Apple comes and does the thing that everybody else is doing and makes it sound like so great without like actually doing anything extra. Although sometimes they do something extra. So Apple wasn't the first smartphone. There were other smartphones way before Apple. But what they did with the iPhone made it like very great for everyone to use. Also the same thing with like personal computers. They weren't the first, but they made it easier to use. They made it more accessible. They made it more user friendly. So that is where like a very good example of first mover not always being the best move. And sometimes first move is also the best move, because even with all the 1 million years that they used to take to release the VR headsets, what special computing device, sorry, reviews are like not that great for it. Which brings me to another example of where first mover is not the best case scenario. The human AI pin. I've not seen one single good review about it. Like, all the reviews about it are that it's the worst product they have ever handled. And it just goes to show you that sometimes you need to actually take your time and refine whatever you're trying to create or build or sell before you push it out. Like, the tech industry recently has gone into this crazy drive of move fast, push now, figure it out later. But you can't do that with a hardware device. Like, you actually can't. It makes no sense. You have to create something good. MKBHD, I hope I said the initials right, recently published a review for another AI physical soft hardware product, and he basically goes on a rant about how like everybody is not even making products anymore. Even software games, people are making games that are incomplete, that have bugs, that are terrible, and releasing that without like actually making sure that the product actually works. So again, don't do that. Another example of first mover disadvantage that we see a lot is with Google. Google Glass was actually way ahead of its time. I believe like Google Glass, I believe if it was released now, would be doing amazing numbers. But it didn't go well with it when it launched. And it launched when? In I had to now do a quick Google search. It launched in May 2014, or originally launched in April 2013 and then became available to the public in May 2014. And it didn't go great. They stopped selling it like last year or 2 years ago, I think. But now Apple has, no, not Apple, Facebook has the Meta has the Ray-Ban glasses, and I've seen like everybody talking great about it. Like everybody's raving about it. It's so good, it's so great. And this is like what, almost 10 years after Google first launched Google Glass. So I did some research about this actually, because I was like, there has to be one good example of first mover advantage. But every single one I found, I always found a company that was started earlier. So eBay, I thought I had found a winner with eBay, but there was a company that was launched like 6 months or 3 months before eBay launched. So eBay was technically not a first mover. I literally cannot find any good examples, because I also thought Amazon as an online ebook retailer, but apparently also not the first. Coca-Cola also not a first mover. Kellogg's not a first mover. Like, I literally cannot find any good first mover examples of companies that were the first in their industry, field, space, whatever, and remain the leading company. Like, I cannot find it. It does not. Well, maybe it does exist. So if you know anyone, please send it to me. So it just also makes me wonder, like, why are people so obsessed with branding themselves as the first to do X or the first company doing Y? Because if you actually then look deeper, you will find out that they're actually not the first. There's always some other thing that started first, and which is probably what gave them the inspiration. And this is one of the problems of being first mover, especially in business, because people will copy you. It's expensive to be the first mover. Like, demand is uncertain because this is a new place. So maybe first mover is not always the advantage. Maybe the advantage is actually to look at other people launch things and then make it better, and then that's the advantage. Okay. Google search, also not first mover. There were other search engines before Google. Like, please, where are the success stories of first movers? I'm not saying that you should then not be innovative or not like try to do new things or whatever. I'm just saying we should stop putting ourselves under this weird pressure of I must be the first to do this, or thinking that being the first to create something or do something is going to mean immediate success and reward. It is not. It means more work. It means you have to compare with people who have probably refined how to create the thing that you're creating and provide a better experience. It means it's a lot of work, evidently, from the small research I've done. And that is where I leave you today. Thank you for listening. Bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Couple of Things. If you found anything insightful, interesting, or you enjoyed this episode, please do share. And remember to like, if you can, wherever you listen to your podcasts, leave a comment, subscribe, so you get the future episodes. Thanks. Before you go, this is a reminder that you can ask me to talk about a specific topic or answer a question that you have by filling the form in the show notes to submit your suggestion or question. Bye.